I've got it right here. Casting secrets, what they don't tell you, on this very special episode of Casting Actors Cast. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach, casting director with McCorkle Casting in New York. This is a very special episode. It's a bonus episode because you've either gone through the website or you received this secret link to this particular podcast. So this is not for public consumption. This is made and built especially for you. Welcome. Gosh, I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you're going to enjoy the information today. I had a lot of fun putting it together, and I think you're going to find it pretty useful because it's about casting secrets, what they don't tell you, but I am going to tell you what those secrets are. Actually, do you know what? There are 5 casting secrets on this private bonus patio. This podcast video. So let's not waste too much time, shall we? And go right into some of these casting secrets. These are the 5 casting secrets that you are not supposed to know. Secret number 1. Casting is not a science. It's not an art. It's a service. Now, I know that might not seem like a big secret, but so many times I hear other casting directors talk about their artistry or that it's a science. There's a kind of a science to it. You know what? That's nonsense. It's a service. We are hired by producers and directors to fulfill the vision of the project, whether it be theater, film, television, commercials, industrials, documentaries, whatever the casting needs are. We are there to help fulfill that vision. Because producers and directors hire casting directors to filter out all of the talent that's out there, and then we base our choices on the project's vision. And then it's really simple. We make casting decisions with our gut instincts. It's really trusting our gut. And there are a couple of additional factors in that scenario. One is we need to know that you're qualified for the part. Also, are you available for the part? Your availability, that's kind of important. Are you interested in the part? But also, the one area that you're not supposed to know about is we really look into your reputation as an actor. What kind of a reputation do you have? Are you one of those congenial, nice people that works and plays well with others? Cool. That's great. Are you one of those people who has had some artistic differences with several different directors or productions in your past? That might be a red flag. So your reputation becomes an important component in the overall way that we provide our service to those producers and directors looking for actors. So that's number 1. And of course, continuing on, of no particular importance, those 5 secrets that you're not supposed to know, here's number 2. Everyone is afraid. That's right. Think about it. Producers are afraid they're going to lose their shirts. Directors are afraid that they're going to have a flop on their hands. Casting directors are afraid that they're not going to get hired again. Actors are terrified that they aren't going to get the job or that they won't be liked by casting or by directors or producers. Even the casting intern is terrified that they're going to be doing something wrong. And so if you accept the premise that everyone is afraid, then you're going to be in a much better place to make important decisions about how you address it. Not only for your own fear factor, but for those factors that you might find coming from others. Like, for example, when you walk into a room. Now, if you know that there's this fear that everyone has to some degree or another, then you can understand why you might feel tension in an audition. You can understand why there might be long discussions between each actor auditioning. You don't even know what's being said. You don't even know what's going on. And that, of course, always exacerbates your fear, doesn't it? So here's the thing. If you believe what I'm telling you, and I hope that you do, then the question becomes, what can you do to alleviate the fear? Now, I'm not kind of suggesting that you go in and be omnipotent and gracious, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that level of understanding means that you will have a level of empathy that is going to make you a creative peer in the environment of an audition and in the world of being on a set. So that fear factor is something to be aware of. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something simply to understand. And of course, clearly, people don't want you to know that they are being afraid, right? Just have that as an assumption. And I think you're going to find just great understanding. And I think empathy was the word I wanted to use. And that's also a sense of power because you get it. You know what's going on. So number 2, everyone is afraid. Number 3, this is an interesting way to look at the entire process that casting directors go through. And I think it'll also help you understand why you might have gotten the part or why you didn't get the part. Because I think about casting in terms of risk versus reward. And that's number 3. It's about risk versus reward. Here's the thing. Taking a chance is harder than a sure thing for casting directors. But you also know that sure things are oftentimes not that interesting. So it's a sliding scale between our understanding of you and your talent. And is that on the risky side of the scale? Or are you an established talent? We know your work really, really well. We know when we're bringing you in for a particular role that you're going to nail it because we know you well. That, baby, oh baby, that's a sure thing. But that doesn't always mean that that's the choice that the director or the producer or even the casting director wants to go with. It's in taking risks, not all the time, but every once in a while, taking a chance, thinking outside the box. That's what makes casting a creative process, in addition to being a service. So when you think about the casting process, and did I get it, and did I not get it, think about the risk versus reward. Does it make sense that you should be playing this part? Or is it kind of maybe a little bit of a chance that the casting director is willing to take because they think you can do the part? And then it's up to the casting director to promote your work to that producer or director, or to simply move on if it doesn't feel like it's going to be a good fit. So that's all about risk versus reward. I hope that helps you. Because let's talk about the 4th factor. Because there are factors as an actor you cannot control. So that's leading into that sliding scale in number 3 of risk versus reward. There are many factors about who you are as a talent that just is. And those things that you have no control over are things that you shouldn't even worry about or think about. But this is important information for you to be aware. This is what casting directors don't want you to know. 1, we have an idea about your physical presence, your body type, the way in which you present yourself, the way you look, That is a very, very important factor in the casting process. Now, there are only certain things you can do about your physical appearance, right? And I'm not talking about body shaming or anything like that, but when you meet somebody for the first time, you might say to yourself, gosh, they're very attractive, or they're very handsome, or they have really great energy, or they're so unique. They have kind of an odd quality. They have a level of humor, a sense of humor. They seem a little quirky. Those are the kind of things that we make a discriminating decision about you in about 15 seconds, no less. So, in a 15-second first meeting, our first impression is based on what we're getting from you. And that, of course, includes your physicality, your energy, all of those factors that I just mentioned. So that becomes something that you have no control over, but understand it is part of the consideration in casting. So let's talk about a few other things that I often hear from other actors about. One is height. Now, it's important that you know how tall you are, please. Put that on your resume. Also, when you slate, make sure that you say how tall you are. That's always an important thing that we can't necessarily discern from a Zoom audition or from a self-submitted video. But your height is one of those things that you might be disqualified from playing a part because you're too tall or too short compared to the other actor we're trying to match you up with. So height becomes a factor. Yeah, we can put heels on you and we can raise you up and we can have you talking on, or we can have you stepping on top of a box. There are some actors that have to step on little risers for them. But you know what? It's a buyer's market. So if there's another actor who is equally right for the role, but is also the right height, they're going to book the job. That just makes sense, I hope. But those physicalities, those are things that you have very little control over. But here's one that I get into discussions with all the time, and that's about your hair. Especially females, women have a challenging time because they say, I really like to wear my hair different ways and it's creative and it's fun for me. And that's great. And do I have to keep my hairstyle once I get my headshot done? Do I have to match that style in my headshot? And the answer from me, my opinion, is no. No, my suggestion is that you do a hairstyle that has very easy maintenance to it, so that on an average week or an average month, that's pretty much your default hairstyle, the go-to hairstyle. But if you want to put your hair up for a particular audition or wear it down or wear it differently than in your headshot, don't freak out about that. But the bigger picture is that hair is very little, to do with the overall picture, but it is definitely part of the overall effect when we meet you for the first time. That also, and also I just wanted to throw this in there as well. Think about hair in terms of being on stage. There's all kinds of hairstyles going on. And also film and television, once you get the job, your own style might not even be thought of. It might be automatically that you're going to be wearing some kind of a different hairstyle. So don't be so focused about that. But understand what you have control over and what you don't have control over. That leads me to my third physicality that I wanted to mention, is that's eyes. Now, film and television, of course, you wear contacts that can change your eye color, that kind of thing. But sometimes your eye color becomes an important factor in the casting process. You don't have any control over that. That's something you have zero control over. But if I'm trying to put a family together, and there are traits in that family that are easily recognizable, and maybe one of those traits is that everybody has hazel-colored eyes, ta-da! That means if you have blue eyes, there's going to be less of a chance that you're going to book the job. It has nothing to do with your talent. In many aspects, talent is a given. And those physicality things that I'm just talking about has nothing to do with your talent. So let's move on to a third factor in terms of what our perception is about you, is that in terms of physicality, we talked about height, but what if we're trying to match you with an other actor? So other actors in the other roles might be a mitigating circumstance about whether you get hired or not. Let's say you brought into a callback and you're having a chemistry read and the chemistry read doesn't go that well. And maybe you're both fantastic talents, but it's just not, kind of doesn't feel right. There's no real chemistry between the two of you. You don't have control over that. Something to think about. Be focused on those things you can control and let go of anything you have any control over. Now, let's move on to number 5, shall we? So let's move on to number 5 in our list of 5 things that no one is going to tell you, but I am. And you should know that there really is something called a casting equation. More likely a casting percentage equation. Now, this is not something that is generally talked about, and this is definitely not etched in stone, but there is a sliding scale that casting directors inherently use in their work. And they won't tell you about this, but I'm going to tell you what it is. When we evaluate talent, when we evaluate you as an actor, 30% of it is your actual talent. Are you talented? That comes down to your technique as an actor. That comes down to your training. All of those things that make you unique and special and talented, that's about 30%. The other 30%, physical. How you are physically, how you present yourself, what your energy, all of those physical traits that make you unique, that make you special, that's about 30% of the casting. So we have your talent, then that's 30%. Then we have your physicality, that's 30%. Now 20% is the perceptions we have about you. That's your reputation. That's people that you've worked with. That's the way you comport, good word, yourself when you're meeting people for the first time. That's about 20%. So that leaves us about 10%. And that 10%, of course, if you add all those up, that's going to be 100%. But the 10% is the instinct about you in the role that we have. If we get a sense that this is a part you should be playing, if it feels, and this is kind of hard because I'm talking about gut reactions, I'm just talking about some, that internal voice in our heads that say, boy, that person is really right for this. That amounts to about 10%. Now, I know that's kind of freaky to break it down that way, and certainly that is not every project we cast. But if you have that information and know that it's about, the 30% is your talent, 30% is your physicality, then there's 20%, which is your reputation, what we feel and think about you based on your resume and other information that we have about you. And then 10% is about that kind of visceral response that you can play that role. So those are my 5 casting secrets that no one's going to tell you, but I just did. Hey, listen, it would be really great if you would, please go to my email address is castingactorscast@gmail.com. It would be great to hear from you about this. Did you learn something? Has this been helpful to you? I certainly hope it has. I've dedicated myself to wanting to just lift the curtain and let you know that this is not an art. It's not a science. Casting is simply a service to try and find the right talent and match that with the role we have available. So it's really simple. So once again, please let me know what you thought of this episode. I hope you continue to be a watcher, a listener on our Podio, our podcast videos. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach, and this is Casting Actors Cast. Thanks so much.
Casting Actors Cast is made possible with your support just by listening. Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.